So hi guys, today we're going to tackle about the summary of the chapter 2, which is entitled Configure a Network Operating System. So this chapter 2 tackled about a configure a network operating system. So it tackles that every computer it requires operating system to function, including computer-based networks such as switches, routers, access point, and firewalls. So this device use an operating system called network operating system. So a network operating system, which it is enable device hardware to function and provide an interface for user to interact. So we're going to this what I said, including computer-based network. So every computer, like what I said, for the every computers that requires an operating system to function. So it includes computer-based network devices such as switches, so this one, and routers, so this the routers, access point, and the firewall. So this is what requires the operating system to function. So next one. But before that, we have this Cisco Internetwork Operating System, which is the IOS. So it is a generic term for the collection of network operating system used by Cisco networking devices. So for the next one, we have the operating system, which include the shell, kernel, and hardware. So for the shell, for the shell, it is so The user interface allows you the user interface allow user to request specific task from the computer. So this request can be made either through CLI or GUI interfaces. So so it can either request made either through CLI and the GUI interfaces. And for the kernel, for the kernel, it communicates between the hardware and software of a computer. It manage no, so computer and manage the how hardware resources are used. So to meet the software requirements. It's so it's communication between the hardware and the software of a computer. So, and for the hardware, so it is the physical part of a computer underlying electronics. So like what I say, in operating system, we have the shell, kernel, and the hardware. So, so the operating system, so all the device, it requires the operating system. So for the next one, so the CLI access method, in this one, we have the console, SSH, and the telnet. So, but before that, I'm going to add the purpose of the OS. Is so it uses a mouse to make selection and run programs. So So it enables user to enter text and text-based commands, view output on a monitor, and other things. So I'm going to proceed again to the CLI access method. So like what I said, it has the console, SSH, and the telnet. So for the console has an advantage. So the advantage of using console is that device is um, accessible even if no networking services have been configured. So that's the one of the advantage of the console port. And when performing an initial configuration, a computer running terminal emulation software is connected to console part of device using a special cable, of course. So um, for the so so that's for the console. So like what I said, it has the advantage using the console port, which is accessible if no network service has been configured. So next one is the SSH. So for the SSH, um, for what I know in the SSH, it is a secure shell. So yeah, so SSH, it is recommend method for remote management because it provides a secure connection. So based from its title itself, secure shell. So SSH also provides encrypted password authentication and transport of session data. So this keeps the user password and details of the management session private. So yeah, it's secure. So um, it secures connection, and then it provides encrypted password authentication and transport of session data, and also keep the user ID password. So also the details of the management session private. So more version of the Cisco IOS includes an SSH server and an SSH client. So can use to establish SSH session with other devices. So yeah, so SSH stand for secure shell. So for the next one, we have Telnet. So for the Telnet, it is best practice dictates to use SSH instead of Telnet. So for remote management CLI connection. Um, so best practice dictates to SSH to use SSH. So to use SSH instead of the Telnet for remote management. So for the CLI connection. And the Cisco IOS includes a Telnet server and a Telnet client that can be used to establish Telnet session with other devices. So includes the Telnet server and the Telnet client so that can use to establish Telnet session with other devices. So then for the CLI access. So for the next one, we have the primary command modes. So in primary command modes, I think we have here the user exec mode and the privilege exec mode. So for the user exec mode, so this mode, it has limited capabilities, but it is useful for the basic operations. So so it only allows a limited number of basic monitoring commands, but does not allow the execution of any commands that might change the configuration of the devices. So it does not allow the execution of any commands so that might change the configuration of the devices. So the user exec mode is identified by the CLI prompt that ends with this sign. So I'm going to say the default device prompt of the user exec mode. So the default device prompt of the user exec mode. So this one, as you can see, you have the so as you can see in here, the switch and the router has the sign of this one. So for the user exec mode, so the switch and the router has this sign that you can see in the screen. So this one. So now we're going to the privilege exec mode. So yeah. So we're going to privilege exec mode. So this one, so to execute configuration command, network administration must use the privilege exec mode. So higher configuration mode, like global configuration mode, can only be reached from privilege exec mode. So the higher and the higher and the higher configuration mode, like global configuration mode, so it can only be reached from the privilege exec mode. So the privilege exec mode can be identified from the prompt ending with a number sign or the hashtag symbol. So let's see the default device prompt. So this is the default device prompt of the privilege exec mode. So as you can see, it is different in the default device prompt of the user exec mode. But the only difference is that has a number sign or the hashtag. So that's the difference between the user exec mode and the privilege exec mode. So now let's go to so this one, it's the basic iOS command structure. So as you can see in the picture, so in the basic iOS command structure, so um, it has the general syntax for a command. So the general syntax for a command is the command followed by appropriate keywords and the argument. So you can see, so the keyword, it is a specific parameters defined in the operating system. So in the figure, so you can see, so it is the IP address, IP protocols. So for the argument, it is not predefined. So a value or variable defined by the user. So in the figure, it is the 192.168.10.5. So again, so the basic iOS command structure. So it's what you can see in the picture. So now let's go to the next one. Yeah. So I already explained the keyword and the argument. So the keyword is what you can see in the IP protocol. So the keyword is specific parameter defined in the operating system. So the figured IP protocols and the argument, it's not predefined. So a value or variable defined by the user. So it is the one nine. So in the figure that you can see in this picture, so it is the 192.168.10.5. So it's in this. So yeah. Now for the hotkeys and the shortcut, I know that some of you are familiar with this one because it's easy to remembered. So I'm not going to read all of this, but I know that some of you are familiar. So the tab for the CLI line editing, as you can see in the picture, I'm going to read it. So for the tab, of course, it's a complete partial command name entry. And for the backspace, so of course familiar with the backspace, it erases the character to the left of the console. So the control D, it erases the character at the console. So the difference between the backspace and control D, the backspace erases the character to the left of the console, and then the control D, it erases the character at the console, again at the console. So the other one, we have the control K, which is erases all characters from the console to the end of the command line. So it erases the character of the console to the end of the command line. So for the SD, we have it erases characters from the console to the end of the word. So it erases the characters to the end of the word. So enter key, which is, I know you're familiar, it displayed the next line if you press the enter key. Then the space bar displays the next screen. Any key, it ends the display string returning to privilege exec mode. And the break keys, which is the Control C, Control Z, and Control Shift 6. So for the Control Shift 6, all for post break sequence. So it used to avoid DNS lookups, trace routes, and pings. For the Control C, when in configuration mode, so it's end the configuration mode and return to privilege exec mode. So for the Control C, it's end the configuration mode and return to privilege exec mode. So when in setup mode, it's abort back to command prompt. So Control C, when in any configuration mode, it's end the configuration mode and return to privilege exec mode. So I hope you understand the hotkeys and the shortcuts. So for the next one, so this is important for the host name, so that you the so it's the host name should be so for the host name, if you're going to choose the host name, should be start with a letter, contains no spaces, so end with letter or digit, and use only letter, digits, and dashes, and be less than 64 characters in length. So that's if 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 you would choose the host name, so that five should that that five that you should follow. So for the next one, so for the limiting device access, so I'm going to show you the so I'm not going to show. So I'm going to say um the two system files that store the device configuration. So we have which is this one, start of config. So the file stored in volatile random access memory, so which is the NVRAM. So it contains all the commands that will be used by the device upon startup or reboot. So NVRAM, so it does not lose its content when the device is powered off. So for the next one, we have the running config. So for the running config, the files stored in random access memory, which is the RAM, that reflects the current configuration. So modifying a running configuration, so it affects the operating of a Cisco device immediately. So RAM is a volatile memory, so it loses all of its content when the device is powered off or started. So that this the start of config or start of configuration and the running config. So these two are the system files that store the device configurations. So for the next one, so I'm going to say all the devices that requiring the IP addresses. So first one is computer. especially the laptop, file server, and the web servers. So network printers, um, VoIP phones, security cameras, smartphones, mobile handheld devices such as wireless barcode scanner and other stuff. So now I'm going to show you the interfaces and the ports. So as you can see in this the interfaces and the ports. You have copper, fiber optic, wireless. So yes, you can see in the pictures here. But other than that, I forgot to mention the limiting device access, which is securing administrative access, which it includes securing privilege access with password, secure user exec access with password, and the other tax, which is the encrypt all password, provide legal notification, and so when, especially when, and the other one is when choosing password. So it's important. So when choosing passwords, you have to use password that are more than 8 characters in length. Then avoid using same password for all the devices that you're going to do. So don't use common words because it's easy to guess, especially to those people that known you. Then use combination of upper and lower case letter, number, and special characters or numeric sequences so that um, they can easily guess your password. So, so I think that's for all. I hope you learn more in about this in this chapter, which is the chapter 2, configure a network operating system. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learn a lot from what I say and in these chapters. So this is only the summary of chapter 2. So thank you guys for watching.